sure you've seen rising COVID cases and more games getting called off. Even there was Leicester Tottenham today, and I saw a few games in League One as well. What are your thoughts on the whole situation at the moment?
The most important thing is that people are healthy and safe, and it's not about games of football getting cancelled, it's about people's health. So we need to be vigilant and do all we can to make sure that we keep ourselves safe, like we tend to do, and follow the guidelines in order to give ourselves the best chance possible of being safe.
Can you just give us an insight into the kind of protocols that are in place at the club and how the squad's feeling about everything at the moment as well?
Well, nothing's really changed. We've probably got into a habit of keeping the distance anyway, and keep washing your hands and making sure that we don't spend too much time in certain areas. Just listen to government guidelines, really, and when you're away from here, make sure you wear your face mask. Just doing what everybody else is doing. We'll know different than anybody else.
And I saw the Brentford manager, Thomas Frank, he's actually called for a postponement of this week's Premier League games. Now, I know maybe it's a strange question to be asking you ahead of us previewing a game at the weekend, but I just wondered what would be your thoughts on that as well, if it came to the case lower down the leagues as well.
No, we don't have to. I wouldn't. I think, listen, if there's any chance that it's going to cause any kind of mass outbreak by just playing a game of football, then we would need to adhere to that. But we have to trust the people who make these decisions. And at the minute, they're saying, unless there's illness in your squad, then let's carry on playing football, which I believe is the right thing to do.
And let's get back to the football, shall we? What pleased you most about the performance at Exeter?
Winning. It's always about winning. And then winning in a way that we are working hard to design now. So we're working hard as a management staff and a playing staff to create a way that gives us a good chance of winning games of football. And we are being tough on each other and making sure that we're good at the things that enable us to do that, either as individuals or as a group. And to see them doing that and then showing the other qualities that you have to have of desire and grit, determination was obviously very pleasing to fight for a really valuable 3 points.
Last week you talked about the score being the stat that matters the most, and you're absolutely correct on that. But how pleased were you with your team's discipline when you consider that you only had 33% possession? How pleased were you with your team out of possession of the ball?
Well, you don't have to have possession to be in control. You can make a team play in a certain area that's not threatening to you. So you're still in some ways in control there. And that's what I was pleased about, that the players kept them at arm's length if they're scoring an early goal. And then as the game got near the end, showed the qualities and the tactical nous to know what they had to do in order to try and get over the line. And they did that really well.
Does the experience help in the squad? I know there's a couple of young lads as well, but the experienced players, does that help more when you've got players that know how to play in that kind of scenario as well?
Of course, experience, people been there before, it's got to help. People know what it takes and the qualities that you need in their moments. Obviously, the keep the standards high and what the game's asking us to do. Yeah, it's massively important. But then, of course, you've got to go and execute that, and the players did that. So it was a big, valuable 3 points for us. And
of course, the league table doesn't lie. You've still got the best defence in the league as well. After back-to-back clean sheets over the last week or so, do you feel like you're getting back to the defence after a rocky-ish spell between October and November?
I think that we're just doing things better, more clinically. Either with or without the ball, we're just doing it better. We've not really dramatically changed much in way of principles. We established them quite early in pre-season, and probably the players are just playing better. That's the human beings. We have up and downs in our performance levels. And I just think at the minute that they're playing well at what we need to do in order to try and get results, and long may that continue.
Is that something that you spot in training? Is it almost telepathic between some players? Would you say that they're just playing better now? Is that something that just comes naturally?
I think they're just human beings. I don't think I think it's as complicated as that, and that's really it. It's just what people do. What you've got to try and do is establish that, be non-negotiable about where you believe that the performance can't drop to, in order to try and get a result. So do the basics well. That's what your managers talk about. That's what they talk about when they say that. Just do the basics well, and don't drop below a performance that doesn't allow you to try and do them really well. Other times they'll play really, really well and outdo the stats and things like that. It's just what it's about. But that's the beauty of football.
I heard you speaking after the Exeter game as well about Cal McManaman's red card. Have you had any communication about it from the referees or the officials in terms of why it was a red card? Because as you say, on first glance, he won the ball.
We haven't. We failed in our appeal against it, which was disappointing considering some of the tackles that have been done on Callum were probably worse, and I could show you 2 or 3. But listen, as there's a process that we had to go through, and in this time we weren't. I don't want to say successful because I wasn't looking for success. I was just looking for the right decision. The right decision, I believe, never came our way. But the dangerous thing is, it just creates a precedent now, because if you go and you're first to the ball, now what people are saying is it's important when you're first to the ball, even if you don't make contact with people, which Callum didn't, you still run the risk of a red card. So that becomes a wee bit confusing to me, because if you know you've been first to the ball and don't hurt them, then they're speaking about intent. Then that for me again is a very dangerous area, because every time I get into the box I intend to score, I show intent to score, but I don't get a goal every time. You've got to go and follow the action through. So that's where it becomes unclear, and that's sometimes what you're up against.
Did they give any reasoning for the rejection of the appeal?
No, I don't say that he's out of control or whatever. I don't know what that means really. I don't know how you scale that or whatever. They said he was out of control, but he's made an attempt for the ball, kicks the ball, makes no contact with the guy that he's playing against. So I'm kind of confused about that one.
But regardless of that as well, either side of the Leyton Orient Cup game, it's 10 points in your last 12 following the Sutton defeat. Have you sensed a kind of rise in confidence during that run as well?
They're usually quite a confident group anyway. I think the way that we work things here, we'll be able to tell you why we won and why we think we lost. And that might be down to an individual performance at a moment, or it might be a period in a game. So we would always come over it like that to try and help the players in things like confidence, to make sure that we do understand what went wrong in that moment and how could we improve our attitude after the score or anything like that. So that's how we would do things in order to try and help to keep confidence continuous and not make it a big massive thing. So no, we wouldn't really allow them to feel sorry for themselves or feel too high. So we just got on it and just try and hit the same levels in the training session with the same expectations of the players from the coaching staff and from each other, is what we would do, win, lose or draw, to try and keep momentum moving forward.
And we mentioned it before you played Leyton Orient in the Cup about this game coming up and the quick turnaround. What did you see from them in that game where you've learned from for this one? Because since that, or either side of this game as well, they've been in a mixed run of form. And for yourselves, you've had so many tight games this season, it felt like a bit of an anomaly.
We were poor that day. We were first to say that we were poor, and we got punished. I believe a dodgy penalty and a counter attack at the end sort of put a lot of gloss on the performance for Leyton Orient, but they did deserve to win on the day. But we were nowhere near in any area of the pitch competitive enough or won any of our duels in the game that was going to give us a chance of getting the result. But we quickly got back to work again on the Monday and made sure that we made the players aware of that, and that's all we did. Like I said there, but when you asked me about confidence, that's all we did. We just get back on track again and back to the basics. So now all we do is we demand the same for Saturday, and we wanted do better against Leyton Orient than we did the last time. And that will mean being more competitive and winning more of our 1v1 battles and causing them more problems. And we'll go into that game expecting to do that.
And just lastly from me, Micky, injury or squad availability update?
Well, Callum's obviously going to be suspended because he's not had his red card overturned. Knight Percival's still not going to be returned, and Paul Galazzo's still not training, so they'll definitely be missing. But apart from that, everybody else is available for selection.
Cheers, Micky.
All right, Chris?
Hi, Micky, you all right, mate?
Yeah.
Festive period is always a busy period for football, but you've managed to squeak a week off. No game in midweek. Is it giving you a bit more time to prepare for this weekend's game?
Yeah, we don't really have a week off. It just gives us the opportunity to get in the grass and go and do some work. And that's what we've used it for. So we've been able to get work on different days at higher intensity because we weren't recovering from the previous game. And there was obviously a wee bit of a gap to the next one. So you can get a wee bit more intensive, more realistic performance on a training ground that replicates what it'd be like in games. So we just used it for that. Also gives the players a wee bit of a mental break as well, because it does get tiring because it has become so relentless mentally and physically this time of the year. So we just try and do that, and that's all we've done. Really, ain't nothing more complicated than that.
And then this weekend, back at Prenton Park for the first time in nearly a month. How important is that for you?
Yeah, it's good because we enjoy playing at home. Massively important game, great time of the year to be playing the games, holiday period. A lot of fans coming home for Christmas. All the families all going to support Tranmere. So it's a big important part of the community. So it makes for an exciting period for us, which we really enjoy, and to be back there, back at home with such a big game. It's important that we as a team and coaching staff provide for the supporters so that it's worthwhile them coming along and being excited about the prospect of a valuable 3 points where it will take us in a real good competitive game.
And obviously you've got the 2 games to make up that got postponed earlier in the month. If games are to be cancelled as a result of COVID, is there a worry that it's going to be too busy further down the line?
Well, I'll tell you that when we realise how it goes. But listen, you've just got to go on. You've got to play a certain amount of games, and that's what you've got to do. You've just got to go and do that. So we'll do what we have to do to try and get the games in. If we have to do that, and we're playing one on Tuesday, and we've got one moved to February at the minute, but it fits in there in midweek. So we'll go and play that. The players would rather play football than train anyway. That's what they're here for, to try and to be ready for games of football. So they prefer that anyway. So we have a game that was postponed on Tuesday, and another ones will move to early February. So we'll look forward to them when they come round.
We've spoken to Elliot Nevitt and Charlie Jolly both this week, and they've both spoken really highly of each other. What is your assessment of their partnership in its infancy?
They're doing really well. They're working really hard. They've got loads of room for improvement, but they have a great appetite to want to improve. They know that. They have to work in all areas of the game. We've pointed that out to them, where the improvement has to be, and what level that they're performing at, and the different things. We wouldn't ask them to do anything that they're not capable of doing. We would just try and improve them in what they're good at, and try and get them performing at a standard that gives us a chance of winning games. So we just keep doing that with them. They're both good lads, they're well liked in the group, and lads that last year never played at this in the Football League. So they're taking their opportunity as of at the minute to continue that. They've got a day's show of consistency that's going to be needed to keep it that way. We'll help them to try and do that. They know that we've got a good, strong squad here, and if for any moment that their performance is dropped, then they will run the risk of being replaced and somebody else will get a crack at it. But that's the value of having a strong squad. Yeah,
and you mentioned the strong squad there, and Charlie mentioned that the different strikers that you have are all very different from each other. How important is it to have such different options when it comes to approaching different games and different situations?
Well, it does, because you need choice, or you need to try and find form with the players and consistency. So like I've just said, and I say all the time, and I said earlier in the interview, they're human beings. So if somebody's having a dip in form, it's important that you have something else in the building that can slot back in again and try and help the team score goals, or help us to win games. So that's the reason why you have a squad, because you can't go through the season with just 11 players. So it's good to be able to have that choice if we think that it's needed to make any kind of changes, and that's why we recruit the way we do at the start of the season.
Just one more from me then. How important is momentum going into this weekend's game and beyond?
Obviously it's important, but you've got to use it on its own. Just because you won the last game means nothing. Momentum moving into the next game, using it positively and saying, look, we're doing this and this well. Can we continue it? There's obviously a feel factor around about the building at the minute because we're winning games, keeping clean sheets, scoring goals. But it's only any good to you if you turn up with the right attitude and use what you've learned and the levels that you played at and the mentality that you played at from the last game, and realise that that's what it's going to take in order to give you a chance of winning the next game. That's where momentum is important. But what is important to remember is it's not a given that just because that you've won the last game that you're going to get anything from the next game if you don't turn up with the right attitude. But obviously there's qualities that you want to bring forward from the last game, and that's where momentum is seen to help you.